As I was saying, I was just introducing Judge Marla Parker, who stood up and waved, and now she's going to have to do it again. There you go. We also have Judge Brady is here with us today. Thank you for attending. We have our dignitaries, our city officials, in addition to the Chamber Board. I would like to take a moment, though, right now to actually introduce the board members that are here today. Reason being is the Chamber is very dedicated to the community, to our businesses, to the residents. The membership is very well collaborative with both the city of Farmington and Farmington Hills. But I do want to take a moment to recognize our board. We have Dwayne Reynolds, who is the president. Dwayne, if you could raise your hand, stand up, thank you. Annette Campo is our immediate past president. Thank you, Annette. We have Gino Grabinski, who is the vice president of events and marketing. Gino. Jan Sherman, who is also vice president of membership. Thank you, Jan. Lee Bird is our secretary. Thank you, Lee. New members to our board are Matthew and Jessica Howell, who are the treasurer for the board. Matthew, Jessica, thank you. Also on our board, Barry Brickner, Andrew Buck, Jerry Ellis, Dr. George Heisch, who is here today, thank you. New to our board also is Emily Karlichek. We have Ken Massey, who will be presenting as well, Ken Paulson, Priya Plela, Steve Schneemann, Dragon Tosic, and Jerry Weinfest. So I just want to put your hands together. These people are really supportive of the Chamber, and they dedicate a lot of time. I will also like to thank our ambassadors. They are the volunteers that you see out in the lobby. They're here helping at our events in the mornings, in the evenings. I couldn't do it without them. Diane Bowman, who is here, Andrea Fields, Brian Gardner, who's been helping. Colleen Kushwalik is also here. Maria Cruz, who I'm sure you all have met. Vita Kawashimi, who is here helping this morning. Chris McConnell is also here. Sabita Monroe. Dragon Tosic is also on our ambassadors. Alan Osterdale, Ray Randolph, Debbie Robbins, and Sherry Vaughn. So these people are dedicated ambassadors. They're business owners and in the community, and we should appreciate them as well. I do want to call out the staff at the Chamber. Marsha Rodeheffer, of course, is our membership director, who is now doing a million things. She wears all hats. Thank you, Marsha. And a new member supporting the Chamber is Michael Halsworth. He is our new government affairs liaison. Michael, I think you're here today. Thank you. Okay, with that being said, I think we'll get ready with our program. Right now, I'd like to introduce Mr. David Claeyst. He is the president of Dearborn and Farmington Hills campuses for Beaumont Health. I would like to have David please come on up.
Good morning, everybody. It was an eventful ride here. I live a little ways away, maybe 50 miles, so it's been good. I've been here in my role for about 13 days. I learned a lot about the city of Farmington Hills. It's a wonderful place. You guys should be very proud of the city, just in my touring of it, and all the accolades that Connie and Kevin and the team that I work with at the Farmington Hills Hospital have kind of talked about or shared with me. I'm very thankful to be here this morning. It's a privilege to get an opportunity to address our community and the people that depend on us to provide them with some form of care or all of their care. I really look forward to meeting all of you over the next couple months and working with you to help solve some of the issues or the problems that you have or that the community is facing. You know, Beaumont Health started in 2014. We came together as 3 health systems really to kind of form the largest provider of health in the state of Michigan. We continue to grow out of that. We've been through a lot of significant changes, as any merger does, or coming together as three large health systems. To get 38,000 people on the same page, to have a common culture, to have a common vision, really takes a lot. I feel after about 4.5 years that we are now in the process of making significant strides where we can really focus again back on healthcare and those things that we love to do and the reason why we're in the business overall. You know, our mission and our vision statement, I think, says it best, and that is just being focused on compassionate and extraordinary care every day. One of those things that we pride ourselves on is being the largest educator of medical students and graduate medical education in the state of Michigan. Our relationships with both Wayne State, Oakland University, and Michigan State University, educating 1,000 residents and fellows is very important to us and very important to our communities, having well-trained, well-qualified physicians to care for us and for our children to come. The Farmington Hills campus educates about 175 of those residents over about 18 programs. Huge, it's our second largest educational campus and one of the largest osteopathic education sites in the country. They've done a huge amount of work switching over to a new one common accreditation agency between what was traditionally called the DO and the MD programs. It's one accreditation agency, the ACGME. And so they've worked really hard to get all 18 programs credentialed. We just got our final verification on the last one. So kudos to the team for doing that. You know, Beaumont Health has 8 campuses. We have about 3,400 beds in the area. And we really try to focus on those things that we needed. We identified early that we had needed a 9th campus, and the 9th campus being a mental health campus. I think sometimes there's a stigma around mental health and the concerns that we have around that. And we often think of those worst case scenarios, those things that we see in the movies around an illness called antisocial personality disorder. And those disorders, those people are usually incarcerated early on in life because they have no value for life. But mostly what we see and we deal with every day in our emergency rooms, and I would say as a standard, and not just at Beaumont, every emergency room in the area struggles with somewhere between 8 to 12, 8 to 15 individuals who are literally sitting in one of the bays in the emergency room waiting to be transferred. We take care of them the best we can, but most of us are not mental health facilities. So Beaumont recognized and identified, work with the local health systems in the state to go ahead and initiate a mental health hospital that'll have 150 beds, a full training program for psychiatry, and a full breadth of treatments available to the patients. You know, probably our biggest focuses are around those diseases around depression and substance abuse. Those are the most common, sometimes bipolar disorder. There are a few others, but again, having that facility and having access to it for our community, I think will be crucial and be key for all of southeastern Michigan. You know, in Beaumont, Farmington Hills, we continue to be focused on revamping the hospital as well as our facilities. There might be a little construction that's hopefully getting close to wrapping up here, at least in one of the 2 towers over the next couple weeks, and then the other one a couple months later. There'll still be continued construction to go on inside. But what that really allows us to do is really provide the care and the accommodations that our patients and our families expect. And we are very focused on patient and family-centered care. We believe it's not just about the patient. A lot of our parents or different family members from different backgrounds struggle with some of the information and the technicality around some of the care that we needed to take on ourselves when we're discharged. And so we really want to have facilities that allow the family to be present and be inclusive in the care of our patients and our families. Dearborn has done an incredible job around their cancer, breast cancer center, really around robotics, around the Da Vinci robot. We have a new robot coming out to focus on lung cancer and the diagnosing of lung cancer in a much safer way than what we've traditionally done it. Traditionally, we've gone kind of from the outside of the lung, crossing a couple of layers of the lung into the lung. That's okay, but can be rather risky and dangerous. Now we'll use a robot to go down your throat, to go down the bronchuses into the lung, and actually biopsy a tumor from the inside, which will be really dynamic and unique and very accurate with the physician's expertise specifically Dr. Kaplan, so we look forward to that. The hospital, the board of Beaumont felt very strongly of looking at the accrediting agencies. So we have different accrediting agencies that we can use to accredit the hospital. The board chose the Joint Commission. They feel that they have the highest standards, and Beaumont Farmington Hills last year with a team went through and completed their accreditation. It's a huge amount of work to change to their standards, but we think that positions the hospital to provide the best quality care and the safest care to the community. They had a great year in 2017, being ranked nationally in U.S. News and World Report in two specific areas, congestive heart failure as well as chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. That's huge for us. It's just an acknowledgement of all the hard work that people are putting in, both our physicians and the staff. We are a Blue Cross Center of Distinction, which is key. Having Blue Cross and Blue Shield recommend or steer patients to our facilities for total hip replacement, cancer care, obstetrics and gynecology procedures. We hope to add to that list, but still huge to have Blue Cross pushing their membership or recommending them come to our hospital for their care. We continue to be focused on the future. So as we see healthcare changing in the Metro Detroit area, we see national trends where people don't come to the hospital for a lot of things anymore. Total hip replacements, or total knee replacements, not total hips, but total knees, we see done and discharged either in the same day in the hospital or done actually in outpatient centers now. I remember back when my mom had us, but then when my oldest sister had her first baby and she was told she was going home in 5 days, my mom was horrified by that, thought that was the worst thing in the world, that was not safe. Now ladies are in the hospital for about 48 hours, maybe 72 hours, and they're discharged home. So I think as technology improves, our capabilities have improved, our ability to communicate improves. We have been able to shorten that time frame down. Beaumont is very focused. You may have heard us around about 30 urgent cares, or about $1 million apiece, that we feel are essential to providing greater access to care and appropriate levels of care. We have built a system very good at having you come to our emergency rooms. They're very expensive. We do a lot of treatment. We do a lot of diagnostic tests, give you some treatments, send you home with an answer. But that's very expensive and not always necessary. It is definitely necessary in some cases. The urgent cares, we believe, will give us an opportunity to do that. I think so often urgent cares are thought of as kind of glorified doctor's offices. I went there with a runny nose, but I'm with people that look like they flat out have pneumonia. Why am I sitting with all these people? We don't want you to do that. We'll open up several of them here in the Farmington Hills area. I think in about a month or so we'll have a groundbreaking on a piece of property that we had purchased. But they're very focused on 40 minutes or less, your appointment. There will be only a couple walk-ins. They're all scheduled by an app on your phone. You can schedule a time. I'm at work. I have something that's nagging. I just don't feel better. Instead of going to the emergency room and potentially your insurance not covering it, you'll be able to self-schedule yourself into an appointment slot at an urgent care, be seen quickly, and then leave. Either, maybe, potentially you have to go to the emergency room, but most likely and usually we'll have a follow-up care for you either with your primary physician or a specialist if needed. So a big focus on us increasing access, and again, access to the most appropriate, cost-effective care for you. We partner with a national leader on that. It's called the Wall Street Company. Very key to us, having somebody who's an expert. Again, we really want to maintain our high quality and our high service that you're used to when you deal with Beaumont. We do have some big openings. The East Pavilion will open up. I'm proud to say, I think we're going to get the keys here in about 2 weeks. We have a couple big events the last week of February. We do have an open house on March 2nd. We would encourage all of you to come and see the new facility and tour it. For the police and the fire services here in the room, they can tell you just how crowded and congested the emergency room can be. When you're at the other hospitals, you're always jealous of why does Farmington Hills get $150 million? Why can't we have some of that? But after I toured the emergency room, I told Kevin, our chief operating officer, oh boy, I did not realize it was so congested and so tight. And you basically, they were bringing in a patient, the fire department was bringing in a patient, and they couldn't really move because there were so many people and the families and patients in the hallway. So the new facility is state-of-the-art, I think well-deserved for the community, and I think it'll be well-deserved for all of them also. It has 58 treatment rooms from 37, 3 state-of-the-art dedicated trauma rooms, which will be key. We're opening up 9 new state-of-the-art operating rooms with all the technology, so we don't have to use x-rays anymore, big, massive monitors, so the physicians can view your images as well as complete your surgery. We will be opening up 27 private rooms also. And then looking at expanding into the old. So once we open up the new, we'll go ahead and shut down the old area and completely rip it apart and renovate that, making it into an observation unit. So instead of just putting you up in the hospital, we potentially can put you in an observation unit, keep you there for a few hours while we get some further testing on you to make a decision. Either you can go home and follow up with your physician or go ahead and be admitted to the hospital. And then opening up a state-of-the-art critical care unit of some 20 beds. It's a beautiful facility. I think it's very appropriate as we see life with not just the patient being there, but also room for families to be there, potentially spending the night with their loved ones also. In the summer, we'll open up the new South Tower. That's 5 stories. We'll open up 2 of those units with beds, all private rooms. Again, fantastic. And we'll get a new entrance for the hospital, as well as some amenities down there that will help those who are visiting or staying maybe tolerate the environment a little bit better. Again, very focused on serving the Dearborn community. It's very important to us. Of the 3,000 or 2,700 employees that work at the Farmington Hills Hospital, about 1,000 of those, or almost 900 of them, live right here in Farmington or Farmington Hills. So we think that's really important to us, and it's important to them. We continue to look at how we can help the community further in just a couple areas. One being obesity, diabetes, and heart health. It's just important. Those are just some key basic fundamental things that we feel that we can control somewhat ourselves. They're a struggle. I struggle with them myself. But that we have an opportunity to partner with you well in the community through education and through our treatment. We do offer free screenings for all of those through a few different programs. And then we've done a few things. The trauma program does this a lot. The schools probably know it more than anybody. We do a couple things around distracted driving, where we put kids behind a driving simulator. The simulator makes them feel like they're drunk, and so they can kind of see what it's like to try and drive when you're drunk and not hopefully do that. And so that's been important. We have a program called Stop the Bleed, which is really important. So when somebody has a major laceration at work, they can get some education and training around exactly how to stop that. We've done that with a lot of the big manufacturing companies, spreading that out, so you showing people how to appropriately apply tourniquets to prevent them from dying. So that's all I have right now. I just want to thank everybody for supporting our hospital and our health system. We really appreciate it, and I look forward to working with all of you in the future. Thank you very much.
Okay, at this time, before we get going, I know we had a little bit of a late start, but I'd like to take a moment right now to thank our sponsors. When we got started, I just kind of wanted to get it all out, but forgot to thank the sponsors. So without their support, the State of the Cities would not be possible. So I'd like to thank, obviously, Beaumont Health for being our premier sponsor, Wright Beamer, Paulson's Audio and Video, the Farmington Family Y, and Parks Title coming in as contributing sponsors, so thank you very much. And also, I'd like to thank CMIT Solutions, Lake Michigan Credit Union, Michigan Schools and Government Credit Union, and Community Choice Credit Union for coming in as supporting sponsors, so thank you all. At this time, I'd like to welcome Lee Flaherty to the podium to introduce our next speaker.
Thank you, Mary. Good morning, everyone. I hope you all made it here without mishap. It's a little dicey out there. I'm really happy this morning to have the honor of introducing Mayor Ken Massey. Ken is a lifelong resident of Farmington Hills, where he attended Farmington Public Schools, and where he now lives with his wife, Catherine, in the home where he grew up, which I think is very cool. Ken was encouraged from an early age to get involved. His parents delivered this message: be part of the problem, not part of the, be part of the solution. I had that backwards. I'm pretty sure that wasn't the message. It was be part of the solution, not part of the problem. In any case, Ken was just that. He began getting involved as a youth. He was primarily involved in public safety organizations as a teen and in scouting, where he attained the rank of Eagle Scout. Professionally, he has a bachelor's from Eastern Michigan University. He holds a PhD from the University of Texas Southwestern, and he has completed several postdoctoral fellowships. He now puts all that education to use as an adjunct professor of pharmacology and also as executive director of venture development at Wayne State University. Ken is a founding member and past president of the Farmington Hills Emergency Preparedness Commission. He's a founding member and president of Farmington SAFE. If you're not familiar with Farmington SAFE, that is an acronym. The acronym stands for Suicide Awareness for Everyone, and it's a very important organization. Ken served as past president and of his Homeowners Association Board of Directors. He still sits on that board, where he has served for many, many years. Ken advocated nationally for Farmington Hills on the Public Safety Steering Committee of the National League of Cities. He served as a past president and trustee on the Farmington Area Council of Homeowners Associations. And there's one other that I've got to, oh yes, how could I forget that one? He's also a past president of the board of directors of Beaumont Farmington Hills. So there's more, but I think you get the idea. In 2016, Ken was recognized for his significant career in public service and for his professional accomplishments when North Farmington High School saw fit to name him as its Alumnus of the Year. Please welcome Mayor Ken Massey.
So good morning, everyone. It's great to see you all out here on a beautiful winter morning in Michigan. We have to celebrate our environment, and yes, it can be fun, but we're Michiganders, and we made it. And I would like to welcome you all to the 2019 State of the Cities address. It is my pleasure to talk to you a little bit about what's going on in the city of Farmington Hills. As I do that, I want to thank the Chamber for setting this up and making sure that we're all here and ready to go. I want to thank the sponsors, because without the sponsors, we can't do this. But I also need to thank all of you. You're the citizens, the business owners, the people who work in this community, and it's our job as governance to make sure that the city meets and exceeds your expectations. We really appreciate you, because it's you that make the city of Farmington Hills a great place to live and work. And you'll notice I want to express gratitude. John Kennedy, I'll have a quote from him, which is, as we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter the words, but to live by them. And we in this community are very lucky to have people who are committed, people who do want to make sure that this is a great city. And I have the honor of sitting with 6 other individuals on your city council here in Farmington Hills, and I want to address them. So I will have them stand up. First is our Mayor Pro Tem, Michael Bridges. Dr. Randy Bruce, who he and I both have spent 16 years together on council. Ms. Valerie Knoll. Mr. Richard Lerner. Ms. Samantha Steckloff. And Dr. Teresa Rich. It's certainly great, and I want to tell you that with 16 years on the council, you know, we do a good job. We like to think we do a good job, but I got to tell you, we don't do a great job without great staff. So I would like to mention the directors of the city. And I'll start with the city manager, Dave Boyer, the assistant city manager, Gary Mekjan, our police chief, Chuck Nebus, our fire chief, John Unruh, city clerk, Pam Smith, our central services director, Kelly Monaco, our finance director, Steve Barr. You guys can stand up as I throw your name there. Human resources director, John Randall. We have a new economic development director, Samantha Seimer. Our planning and community development director, Mr. Ed Gardner. Public services director, Karen Mondora. Special services director, Ms. Ellen Schnackle. And I'm making sure to introduce them because everything I'm about to talk about is done by the work of these people and all of the wonderful staff that works with them. They make the city run. The rest of us, we're governance. We may be a face forward, but these are the people that I want to acknowledge. And I want to thank you for all of your dedicated work to and service to the city. To the next slide. As we do, I want to talk a little bit about our accomplishments in the last year. And it was mentioned during the introduction, I am a lifelong resident. And I want to say in 2018, a huge amount of energy went into the largest charter change and millage passage as we moved away from paving our local roads through an antiquated system of special assessment districts. And now we are going to be moving forward because the local road millage has passed, and it is going to revolutionize how we make sure that we pave the roads. And I want to, this is huge, and it's really going to become evident as we move into 2019. But we want to express our thanks to the voters who saw fit to pass this with a 59% margin. The road millage, next slide. The road millage, I'm sorry you have to look at my face on pictures and here, but it's going to help us improve the overall condition of the road system within our city. We have 243 miles of local roads. And quite frankly, this is going to revolutionize how we get to take away from it, that we're going to take away all the special assessments and the angst that went with that. And we have to thank the Public Services Department, the Public Works Department, engineering, who are an integral part of the designing of these roads, the construction and the maintaining of the roads. And we're going to have enhanced maintenance as we move forward. Next slide. You're going to see your tax dollars at work, and on this slide we have a number of the proposed construction projects for roads in 2019. And you'll notice there are a lot of them. Well, those orange barrels that you're going to see and all of the traffic shifts, that short-term pain, long-term gain, no good deed goes unpunished. So now that people have passed the millage, we are going to show them how we are going to use that millage by doing all of these projects. But at the end of that, from the street, an example of a street that's failed on the left, you're going to see new, well-paved streets, and the way engineering is planning these, we're going to be able to enhance the maintenance of these and keep them in this condition for very long periods of time and never have to go back and bother the individual residents on those special assessment districts. So, next slide. We had the opportunity this year to go back to our citywide open house, and speaking of road crews, the road crews had the opportunity to bring in all the heavy equipment. The fire department was there, police department there, every department of the city was involved in this citywide open house. It was very well received. One of the hits of the city was our new canine officer, Officer Dozer. We also had the opportunity to show off some of our new fire apparatus. And I'm hoping that you had the opportunity to come and see us because like 1,800 people did. It was held prior to the election, and we even had the opportunity to have the clerk's office participate, and people could sign up for absentee ballots and register as voters during the event. So it was quite well received. Moving on to quality of life, one of the really great points is that our overall crime dropped. We are now at the lowest point for major crimes that this city has ever had in its history. And you can see the most serious crimes, those that are called Part A crimes, decreased more than 16%. And the slide shows the breakdown. The robberies declined 44%, burglaries down 29%, auto thefts down 48%. And a particular point, because at the State of the Cities 2 years ago, I talked about the higher rate of larcenies from auto. But a lot of education has been done with our residents, and that category declined 41% this year. People are getting the message there. We are in a safe city, but if you leave your computer, your purse, or other valuables on your front seat and leave the doors open, there's opportunity. And that declined 41%. And I want to mention that Chief Nebus attributes this to an excellent relationship that our police officers, our police department has with our residents. That cooperation, because the police department can't be everywhere at all times, but quite frankly, the residents that are out there, we started a pause watch. People who are out walking dogs can now get their dogs a really cool bandana. The dogs argue about it in the neighborhoods, but who's cooler? But they get out there. Those people walk 2 and 3 and 4 times a day. They're going to recognize things, and it's that cooperation between the community that allows us to reach this. And we also hit another achievement. We're in the top safest 5 cities in which to retire in the United States. So we are safe, and I want to acknowledge our police department and the fine work that the men and women do for us. We also, and I'm going to talk about certification of both police and fire. Or Department of Public Services was accredited last year, and this past year, the police department is one of only 10 police departments in the state of Michigan that went through the 2-year accreditation. We are now an accredited agency, and I'll talk about the fire department when I get to them. Next slide. Also be remiss if I mentioned Officer Dozer, but his handler, Officer Yout, brought Officer Dozer into City Council, and Council had the opportunity to present him with his badge. He is a hit. He is one of the best community policing opportunities that we've had, so it's great to have him on board. We also are part of and kicked off the Hope Not Handcuffs along with 13 other communities this past summer. This is a program in which those people who have drug addiction, substance addictions, can come to the police department, say, I need help, and a volunteer who's trained will come and sit with them and wait while they're getting placed into an inpatient treatment facility. It's a wonderful opportunity to help people who want to change their lives for the better. So you can see lots of great things that are going on. And we also have a number of new police hires. So Mr. Randall has been very busy, but our police department has been adding officers, and we're now up to, we have an almost full number of our police positions that are filled. We do have another officer we're getting sworn in later this week. And moving on to the fire services. While the police department went through the accreditation, the fire department went through ISO recertification and is now certified at a level of 2. This saves all of you a lot of money in terms of fire insurance on your businesses, homes, and so forth. And the fire department needs to be commended for going through that. While they were working for us, the fire department's call volume has increased by 23% since 2011. And the men and women who serve us on the fire service side have been meeting that call, and you'll notice in the large block, the purple block there, that is the number of EMS calls. So when you talk about a fire department, this is a full-service fire department with advanced life support, and the majority of what they handle, our paramedics are out there dealing with those medical emergencies. They can't do it without apparatus, and I want to say that while they respond to all kinds of fires and everything else, we need different types of equipment, and in the last year, we've replaced a number of pieces of equipment, the ambulances and rescues. I want to brag just for a second on that because the changes in our EMS system have more than doubled the ability for you to survive in the event of an out-of-hospital cardiac arrest. We are well beyond the survival rate, and the survival rate doesn't mean just they get your heart started in. They count survival rates as walking out of the hospital with your neurologically intact, so you can resume your normal life, and we are way above the national average in that. Should make you feel safe. Not that you want an out-of-hospital event, but they need a round of applause for that. And it's front and center in that was a 100-foot tower, and that tower truck goes up to 100 feet. It allows the fire department to extend out over various events. They can pump 2,000 gallons a minute up into the fires. They can do high-level rescues. It cost us, we waited over a year to get the vehicle, and it cost us well over $1.1 million. And I have to tell you, council wanted to go out and see what $1.1 million would do, and we had the opportunity to go up in that tower to 100 feet. And this slide, I wanted to include, that's what it looks like from 100 feet up. And why is that important? The rest of my city council, they jumped at this chance. It took 3 weeks to have me convinced I'm deathly afraid of heights. And I wanted to prove that I faced my fears. And I rode up in that thing. I didn't want anybody around me or touching me while we were doing it. But so it just, there is another little trivia thing. I'm scared to death of those things, but I did it. Next slide. So the fire department, along with the police department, does a number of community outreach programs, educational programs, child safety seat assessments. And when they get into the youth programs, that's also a great way of communicating to the kids about vehicle safety, fire safety, and also hopefully future firefighters. So moving on to the next is no city runs without its appropriate funding, and the stellar services that we provide wouldn't be there if we weren't a financially stable city. Year after year, the city resources are spent wisely. We go through a very intense budgeting process, which we are in the middle of. It starts out with goal-setting sessions on the part of council, and then every department works to bring forward a budget, and then we have meetings on that. But that financial record doesn't go unnoticed. For the last 35 years, we've received the Distinguished Budget Award from the Government Finance Officers Association. And we're the city that has the highest number of these awards in the country. We maintain a AAA bond rating, a AA1 on the Moody's. And honestly, Mr. Barr, you and your team, you do a great job. Our retirement systems are fully funded when you look at other communities, and we're at 106%, 107%, 108% in our post-retirement health care. We're at 80% with the post-retirement pension. So great job, Mr. Barr. Thank you for keeping us on track. We also want to do economic development, and we are welcoming a new economic development director. Samantha Seimer joined us this past year, and she started in September. Samantha, thank you and welcome. If you want your business questions, talk to Samantha. She's working with a number of groups. I just put GAC Motors in 2018. This Chinese auto manufacturer has made the decision to invest more than $4 million in their research facility here in Farmington Hills. You can also see that Farmington Hills is home to companies that are representing countries around the world. It's not surprising because we're known for being a business-friendly community. We have an environment that's conducive to establishing and growing businesses. Speaking of doing businesses, next slide. We are having an event. It's coming up, and this will be on February the 25th at City Hall, and it's specifically how to do business with the city of Farmington Hills. So we wanted to plug that because we'd love to see you come out there so you can learn how to get involved with us. Special services. We have, at the Nature Center, we have our STEM, that's science, technology, engineering, mathematics programs to enhance kids' environments for when they come to summer camps. We want to have these young people be the leaders in the next decade, and obviously we're trying to do what we can to assist. We have 600 acres of parkland and green spaces that you can enjoy year-round. Every season has something that you can come out and do. And I will tease you a little bit. Yes, it's Michigan, it's winter, but don't sit at home just because it's warm by the fireplace. Come out, experience some of this. We just did, on February the 2nd, we had our chili open, and you'll see that's the upper left-hand picture there. You can come out. We had over 75 folks came out and played golf in the wonderful frigid weather and the snow. It's a blast. I've done it for a couple of years now. We have snowshoeing, and I hear that there's even a Valentine's stroll through Heritage Park coming up here in the next couple of days, so you can take advantage of that. Additionally, we have programs across the board. You've all seen the book. It comes to all of our residents that outlines all these programs, and we cover all age groups from the very young to our seniors. Come in at City Hall. We just changed up our art program. Farmington Hills is one of the only 2 cities that actually has a cultural arts program. So you can, if you're outside isn't your thing, come to our various municipal buildings and see the beautiful art that is donated for 2 years to be on exhibit by our community members. It's just incredible. So, I want to switch to the future. And I want to acknowledge that our Farmington Public School Board had a real tough decision to make, and they did that back in 2015. Student census has been decreasing. There are a lot of varieties for that, but they had to make a decision on what to do with schools and funding and so forth, and they made a tough decision that the population of students didn't need 3 major high schools, and they made the decision to close one of the 3, and that one was Harrison. Now, that was a tough decision, but it's also a huge investment. Harrison was a huge investment on the parts of our taxpayers. So the schools, the school district and the city got together with a plan, and that was, we don't want to lose this asset. We also acknowledge that we are outgrowing the Caustic Center for the number of programs that we could offer. So a really nice opportunity came, and the city of Farmington Hills, and I think I mentioned it at my last State of the Cities because we were in the middle of discussing it. Now we've closed that deal. We will be taking over Harrison High School after the end of this school year and repurposing it into a state-of-the-art community center that allows us to open up a number of things that we didn't have before. We're going to repurpose this building. That community recreation and arts facility will have 3 gymnasiums, or well, we're anticipating, because the final designs aren't done, but multiple gymnasiums, a performing arts center, an aquatic center, lots of programmable space. And we involve the community in this, having them come into a visioning meetings and help us to, because we want to know what the community wants. This is just a concept of the first floor. No, you're not expected to be able to read all that. But just to let you know, we're trying to involve the community at every level in this. And Harrison, we also acknowledge that Harrison has a great sports legacy, and it has a great legacy and lots of people who are tied to that. I know that my council member, Samantha Steckloff, graduated from Harrison High School. So the other thing, in addition to dealing with the need for a new community center and protecting this community asset, and just this past Monday, we passed a resolution. We're going to work with the Harrison Legacy Committee so that we can maintain that legacy. So we're hitting a triple run with what we're doing on this. So, and we also redid our master plan and Parks and Rec this past year, and the voters did renew that. So we've been involved in it. Before I leave the topic of Harrison, and I do want to say something, and that is that this decision was tough. The Farmington Public Schools made a tough decision, and Dr. George Heist, who you will hear from, has also made a decision, and that is that he's going to retire this year. And from my position, I would like to say, George, you've done a wonderful job. You helped the community in passing the bonds that are strengthening our schools. You were able to, in November of 15, the district passed a 10-year millage renewal. The district, under your guidance and with your work with the board, has right-sized the footprint. I know that's tough. It puts a lot of pressure on you, but you've done a great job. For the community, you've all seen that Dunkel was repurposed into the STEAM Academy. This is an incredible opportunity, and your vision led to that. You've gotten in your leadership, the district has gotten back onto a solid financial footing. And honestly, we have CPR being taught, that Stop the Bleed is being taught in the schools. All of these great things are there. Thank you for the leadership that you've shown. So, as I reach the conclusion here, I just want to say thank you for letting me brag a little bit about some of the great things that are going on here in the city of Farmington Hills. I've been a lifelong fan of the city, and it has certainly been my honor to serve on council and to serve as your mayor for the last few years. Aldous Huxley was quoted as saying, "Most human beings have an almost infinite capacity for taking things for granted." We can't take things for granted. We need to appreciate the high quality of life, the safe environment we have, the beautiful surroundings, the great work that not just our current council, but all past councils have done. We couldn't have done that, and we can't do it without you, the residents and the businesses who make this a great place to live and work. And as my final comment, so thanks for all of that, as my final comment, you see this, it's got great pictures, good slides, some great statistics. Jill Pines puts this together, and I want to say thank you, Jill. You make this so easy to do. You help, and thank you for all the work and the efforts that you put into this. Thank you.
I'm here as Representative Paulson's Audio and Video, just a local community company, 26 years, AV retail sales support. This is what we do. We take care of our clients, but right now we want to talk a little bit and introduce Stephen Schneemann, the mayor of City of Farmington. Stephen graduated from Lawrence Technological University with a bachelor's degree in architecture in 1993 and a master's at the University of California, Berkeley in architecture in 1998. He is an architect and principal of architectural firms S3 Architecture and Merritt Sislak Design, both located in downtown Farmington, and has taught architectural design and theory at LTU since 2001. Steve has served as mayor since his election in November of 2017. Prior to that, he served 4 years as mayor pro tem. He was first appointed, to the city council in the summer of 2013. Prior to serving on city council, Steve had served for nearly 8 years on the Downtown Development Authority and as chair of the Downtown Main Street Design Committee. He has also served as the Board of Zoning, Appeals, and the Planning Commission. Steve has lived in Farmington since 1999 and is married with 3 daughters. Let's welcome Steve, Mayor of City of Farmington.
Can everybody hear me okay? All right. Let's, and how do we advance the slides?
Just let her know.
Oh, okay. Make a motion. I can do that. Okay. Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you for the welcome. And I want to thank Mary Martin and Greater Farmington Area Chamber of Commerce and our corporate sponsors for making this important event possible. It's a tremendous honor for me to be here today representing the city of Farmington. And before I get started with my comments, I would like to recognize some of my colleagues that are here. I'm joined today by the Mayor Pro Tem, Sarah Bowman, Councilmember Bill Galvin, Councilmember Maria Taylor, and Councilmember Joe LaRussa. Also want to recognize our city administration and staff that's here today. Our city manager, David Murphy, is here. Executive assistant to the city manager, makes the city go, Melissa Andrade. We have a new city clerk and a new deputy city clerk, and that is Mary Mullison and Jen Tomlinson, respectively. Our city treasurer, Chris Weber, is here, as is our deputy city treasurer, Jamie Pullman. Our economic and community development director, Kevin Christensen, is here. Public safety director and deputy public safety director, Frank Demers and Ted Worthman, are here. Our Department of Public Works Director, Chuck Udy, is here. The Assistant Superintendent, Josh Leach, is out making sure that the roads in Farmington and sidewalks are clear. Our DDA Director, Kate Knight, is here. And we've got DDA members here as well. Todd Kraft is the President. Tom Buck, former Mayor of Farmington. And Mickey Skritsky, Secretary. Hopefully I didn't miss anyone. Farmers Market Manager, Walkowski, is here. Our Governor Warner Mansion Director, Kimberly Shea, is here. And our city attorneys, Tom Schultz and Beth Sorrell, are here. So thank you to my colleagues, staff, for being here to support this event. That is not Farmington, by the way. Last year, during the State of the City's address, I took the opportunity to introduce myself as the new mayor of Farmington. I talked about my vocation as an architect, my family, and my passion for helping Farmington succeed. Speaking of my family, I'm very proud and privileged to be joined here this morning by my wife, Jennifer, and my daughter, Annalise. Jennifer and I are going to be dropping Annalise off at the airport tomorrow morning at 4 a.m. so that she can travel to Costa Rica with her outdoor ed class at Farmington High School, where she'll be surfing and zip lining and rock climbing, etc. Also doing some public service works for those in need. So Annalise, I know that you're still stressed about packing, figuring the GoPro out, but I appreciate you being here to support your dad. Also, considering the weather that we've had outside, I want to thank you for going to Costa Rica so that I could have that slide up gratuitously. I also learned something really interesting recently. I mentioned my day job as an architect. We have offices in downtown Farmington, but I also learned that the very first mayor of Farmington was an architect, a gentleman named Wells Butterfield. Actually lived in my neighborhood just around the corner from my house. So Farmington has design and placemaking in its DNA, I believe. And also very interesting is that Mr. Butterfield's daughter, Emily Butterfield, is a celebrated figure in Farmington and Michigan history. She was the first female architect licensed in the state. Over the past year, our councils began to gel together. We had a new council 2 Novembers ago with events like the Farmington Safe Softball Tournament, a great fun event with an important and serious message. The last slide, that was our ruthless Team Farmington there. The Farmington Hills Police team didn't know what hit them when we played them. I also got to show off my bowling prowess, along with Mayor Pro Tem Sarah Bowman at another great event supporting a longtime community business, Chamber member Country Lanes. We had great camaraderie with our colleagues on the Hills Council, and they even lent Teresa Rich and Brian Rich to us to help round our team out. Over the past year, like many folks that go into politics, my skin has thickened as I've had to face many tough questions from my constituents. And let me tell you, that Gen Z crowd can be tough. Last year, we said goodbye to our clerk, Sue Halberstadt, who helped to prepare a very smooth transition for the department, to our new clerk, Mary Mollison, and Jen Tomlinson. Together, they have held multiple voter registration events at Farmington High School and the Farmers Market successfully. The clerk's office adroitly managed the largest midterm election in recent memory. So kudos to the clerk's office for making that transition virtually seamless. And I do also want to recognize our new clerk, not only for her diligence and skill, but her humility. I asked her to send me a list of achievements since she took office, and she wrote, quote, "We did a lot this year, but it was all just our regular work." Good form, Mary. Also pleased to report that real property assessed values increased 7.3% last year, so we're going in the right direction in Farmington. And of course, we all know that a new 3 mil levy was approved by voters by a significant margin in Farmington. That millage will generate approximately $1 million per year in additional tax revenue for the city. The majority of this revenue is going to be spent on infrastructure upgrades, including roads, water, and sewer lines, parks, drains, streetscapes, and city facilities. We'll talk more about that in a minute. On the economic and community development front, the old 47th District Court property is being redeveloped with 14 new single-family homes, and I understand it's planned to be called Liberty Hill. And as a part of our master plan, we're hoping very much to see the redevelopment expand to the south and to the east in that area. We're eagerly awaiting new plans for the residential development at the MTC site downtown. These are plans that are going to stitch nicely into the existing fabric of our downtown. And this is a significant project for our downtown. This is going to have a tremendous impact on the placemaking of Farmington. And these are efforts that we're working very hard on. I'd like to encourage the school leadership to do everything in its power to help expedite the process with the developer. We're excited about the new Beaumont Medical Office at Shiawassee and Orchard Lake that's currently under construction. And we've got several new restaurants in Farmington I would encourage you all to try out. Samurai Sushi and Steakhouse is open. The Sidecar Slider Bar is open. Get there early because they fill up fast. The One Up Barcade, that's not arcade, but barcade. They have a Pac-Man bar, that's downtown. And then Rolling Stoves is a food truck that's expanding its restaurant on wheels to a brick and mortar location next to the Dunkin' Donuts near Farmington and 8 Mile. And I also hear Tropical Smoothie Cafe is coming this spring. Our DPW has had numerous infrastructure upgrades over this past year, including our beautiful primary water tower that you can see here. It's in the cemetery. Replacement of all of our neighborhood lighting, that's 544 lights. That's going to save us about 33%, or $50,000 a year. And we've repaired Farmington Road just north of Grand River. We also have numerous projects upcoming for the year. We're going to be repaving portions of many of our residential streets. We have a $2 million project that's going to be going on Freedom Road. And because of the newly passed millage, we'll be significantly increasing spending on maintaining our roads going forward. On the public safety side, Ken Massey actually kind of delivered my entire content, I think. But our public safety department was awarded full accreditation by the Michigan Law Enforcement Accreditation Commission in June. I'm not sure if that was before or after the Hills. Same time, okay. So congrats to our public safety. We're one of 10 enforcement agencies that have achieved that throughout the state. We too have a record low crime rate in Farmington. Last year we had a total of 2 burglaries in the city of Farmington. For a city of over 10,000 people, I think that's pretty amazing. We also had an 11% decrease in our Part A crimes, so kudos to public safety. And these low crime rates are really no accidents. It's due, like in the Hills, to our community outreach efforts, from Coffee with a Cop to our patrol officers who hand out coupons for free ice cream cones at the Silver Dairy. We're also involved in the Hope Not Handcuffs program, where, as Mayor Massey explained, somebody can come to public safety 24/7 and request help, and a Hope Not Handcuff angel will come to facilitate immediate treatment for the individual. And we also are at full staff. We hired 2 new public safety officers in 2018, and so we're fully staffed now. Over the last year, the Warner Mansion hosted history book talks by local authors during cold winter months. Many of you may or may not know that the city of Farmington actually owns and operates the Warner Mansion. It also hosted several wonderful porch parties where everyone was entertained by musicians, enjoyed refreshments on the biggest porch in Farmington. They organized major fundraising events, including the Spring Fashion Show, the Founders Festival Antique Flea Market, tea and talk on the grounds of the mansion, Ghost Night at the mansion, and our holiday tea at Pine Lake Country Club. And one of my favorite events of the year, as a part of the Chamber's holiday events, we have the Farmington Lighted Parade, followed by the tree lighting at the mansion. And this year, I got to wear a top hat for the very first time. The Farmers Market celebrated its 25th year in 2018, attracting 3,000 people weekly to downtown Farmington. Rain or shine, 70,000 people came to experience the market. What started out in 1993 as a small circle of farmers that were selling off the backs of their trucks has now grown to become Metro Detroit's #1 farmers market. Kudos to Walt Langowski. At peak season, 19 different farms from around southeast Michigan will pick and provide a weekly harvest of fresh fruits, vegetables, garden herbs, bedding plants, fresh cut flowers, and more. And northern Michigan fresh catch fisheries, try saying that 10 times fast, set up besides livestock farmers, perennial gardeners, and local artisans. And thanks to the generous support of over a dozen sponsors, the Farmers Market has grown to be even more than just a shopping experience. It's a public event for community gathering, outreach, purposely tailored to fitness, wellness, and nutrition. From free health screenings to colorful cooking demos, a community corn roast, or a 5K run, the market is a vital and vibrant aspect of community life in Farmington. And thanks to the Kickstart grant for the Farmington Hills Foundation for Youth and Families, Market debuted a new children's program in 2018 called The Power of Produce, or POP, aimed at children's aged 4 to 12. The national program introduces area kids to local farmers, encourages them to scavenge through the market, figuring out where foods come from, and then take home some healthy recipes. So as we look forward to the coming spring, we look forward to the opening of the Farmers Market for 2019 season, and that's May 18th at 9 o'clock, and I hope to see you all there. Now, I'm willing to bet that many of you don't know that the city also owns and operates the Civic Theater downtown. And under the excellent operational and fiscal management of Scott Freeman, it's a self-sustaining cost center for the city. We've got a new improved website that came online called thefct.com, so check that out. The theater has over 23,000 likes on Facebook. And although the mainstay of Farmington Civic Theater is the movies, we also have popular Friday Night Live concert series, which continues. These are monthly concerts, September through April. Our Out Front performances continued with year 3. Out Front features live musicians out front of the theater. You go ahead with the slides. Thank you. A couple more. There. One more. Okay. Thank you. During the warmer weather months. And our annual special events continue with the Miss Farmington pageant, Greater Farmington Film Festival, Farmington Community Friends of the Library's Oscar Shorts, which was held just this past Sunday, and the Farmington Area Goodfellows free Christmas movies. And I'd be remiss in mentioning Miss Farmington pageant without remembering a very special person that we mourn the loss of just recently, Ginny Morris. She was a great mentor to so many young women, a great friend to our community, and a tireless volunteer for the pageant and so many other community events. We celebrate you and we miss you, Ginny. The holidays came early to downtown Farmington last year as General Motors decided that our downtown was the perfectly picturesque backdrop to film one of their national commercials. The DDA continues to expand its commitment of promoting walkability and access to community amenities. A community survey recently by our master planning consultant, OHM, tells us that residents believe it is extremely important to strengthen connectivity to schools, parks, and downtown. The downtown is closely associated with the identity of Farmington. And based on that same survey, residents are very supportive of revitalization and investment in the downtown. And the DDA is again hosting a full roster of events this year, including Rhythms in Riley on Friday nights, Art on the Grand, the Harvest Moon celebration, and not one but 2 ladies' nights out, and more. In 2018, the DDA also installed 2 public art projects in downtown. The top are sculptures from artist David Barr that have been installed in Riley Park. You can see them there. And the lower image is a mural from Farmington Hills resident artist John Martin. This past December, the DDA used proceeds from the Harvest Moon celebration to install festival lighting at Riley Park. This is the kind of placemaking and cultural programming that builds community value and a sense of place and brings economic investment. The planned reconstruction of Oakland Street is a partnership between the city and the DDA. The city had already slated Oakland Street for necessary water and sewer repairs when the DDA offered that it could come alongside to help do more than just repair what was broken. They offered to partner with the city to add new parking and new sidewalks and other streetscape features to help develop a safe pedestrian linkage from neighborhoods and businesses into the downtown core. The Oakland Street improvements will serve as a gateway into the downtown and are a strong statement of the DDA's mission and commitment to improving quality public space and physically investing in and enhancing the center of our city. And the DDA is also volunteer-driven. Downtown Farmington benefited from thousands of volunteer hours last year, and if you're feeling moved to join the DDA, go ahead and contact us and we will gladly find a role for you. Now you may recall that at last year's State of the City's address, I said that Farmington was on an unsustainable financial trajectory. I said that we've been having our cake and eating it too, and that at some point in the next 5 to 7 years, we'd need to begin borrowing money just to keep our city operating at current levels. And I walked through many of the reasons why we found ourselves in that predicament. I talked about a community outreach that would be occurring in 2018 to educate the residents of Farmington about the challenges that we faced. And we did precisely that. Working closely with our treasurer and city manager, we held 2 community fora in the spring where we meticulously laid out the challenges that the city faced. We also conducted several traveling town halls, where we called them, where the administration and elected officials took information out to multiple locations around the city in an effort to reach any and all that were interested. And while this effort was underway, the City Council was simultaneously considering how it would handle the financial unsustainability. I'm very proud that we as a council unanimously agreed that we should bring the entire city into the conversation via the ballot box, so that together, all residents of the city, not just the administration and the elected leaders, could make the important decision of how we were to move forward. This millage question was also a question that is unprecedented in Farmington. According to our treasurer's office, the last millage questions were in the 1990s, and they were for roads and sewers, basically fixing the infrastructure that we already had. This millage is different, however. This millage conceptually takes a page from business and the private sector. Businesses know that in order to survive, they cannot merely maintain the status quo or just fix what's broken. Businesses that do not adapt will grow, and grow will die. It is the businesses that invest in themselves that thrive in a competitive marketplace, and this is a competition. I'm also very proud that the decision for Farmington to determine its own destiny by bolstering its revenue by 3 mills passed by a wide margin. This is a clear message that this is a city whose residents not only love the city in which they live, but they also have a tremendous amount of trust in its leadership. This is a city that appreciates and places high value on quality public spaces, public safety, and public services. This is a city whose residents want to continue to enjoy excellent quality of life while still having a tax burden that is in the lower half of comparably sized cities in Southeast Michigan. And I want to restate that because it's important for everybody to understand. Even with the millage increase that was passed, the city of Farmington taxpayers are in the lower half of comparably sized cities in Southeast Michigan. As I mentioned, this millage is more forward-looking as it seeks to not just fix what we have, but to improve our infrastructure with capital improvements projects that enhance and expand our infrastructure to help continue the renaissance that Farmington is currently enjoying. Expect to see projects in the coming years, such as creating a connection between one of our community jewels, and that's Shiawassee Park, and another community jewel, and that's our downtown. Farmington Road streetscape, continuing what was started and was so successful on Grand River Avenue over 10 years ago. We need to finish what was started then. Park improvements for Drake Park, Shiawassee Park, and others. And of course, we'll have greater investment in our roads and our sewers so that we'll no longer have to drive on crumbling roads, and our sewers won't back up during the 100-year storms that seem to happen every 2 to 3 years. Based on this, we should have tremendous confidence in the future of our great city. Our financial future is no longer on an unsustainable trajectory. That's yesterday's news. Thanks to the residents of Farmington, I can say unequivocally then that the state of our city is excellent and our financial position is strong. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our city staff, particularly our city manager, David Murphy, and our city treasurer, Chris Weber, for all of your efforts and all of your staff's efforts in getting the word out, answering countless questions, preparing documents and graphs and presentations to help our residents better understand the choices before us, that were before us. I would also like to thank my city council that's here today for all of its efforts in helping to educate the residents of our great city on the challenges that lay ahead, and for deliberating in good faith and ultimately agreeing upon a clear path forward by asking our residents to come alongside us in this decision and journey. And lastly, most importantly, I'd like to thank the residents of Farmington for putting your faith in city officials and leadership. I give you my word that every dollar the council considers allocating will be met with the utmost scrutiny. So what's next for Farmington? We respond to voters who have asked us to invest in our city. We have a 10-year window to right the ship, so to speak, by increasing revenue through redevelopment, growth, and improved property values. Along with continued prudence in controlling costs, including pension costs, these efforts will allow us to put our city on a solid, long-term financial footing. To the administration, I say let's continue to make operational decisions for the city with the acute awareness that we are funded by the hard-earned money of our residents and businesses. To council, I say let's show the residents of our great city that we can work together to responsibly invest in targeted growth and redevelopment for our city. And to the residents of Farmington, I say, thank you for allowing me the privilege of serving you. I promise that I will continue to work faithfully and diligently to the best of my abilities, always in the best interest of Farmington. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Schneemann. At this time, I would like to welcome Kyle Anderson, Executive Director of the Farmington Family Y, to introduce our next speaker. Thank you, Kyle.
Hello, good morning, everyone. And first, I'd just like to say congratulations to the City of Farmington, Farmington Hills, the staff, the City Council, and everybody to providing just a great place to live, work, and play. And the Y is happy to be a support to the community. As Mary said, my name is Kyle Anderson with the Farmington Family YMCA. For those of you that don't know where we're at, we're right across the street. Go over 12 Mile, keep going. We'll be on our right. We'll be on the right. If you go to Farmington Road, take a right, take another right, then you'll see our building. We'll be right there. We'd love for you to come see what we're up to today. The Y and the school district have a rich history dating back to 1962, when then Assistant Superintendent Marinus Van Amede led a group of volunteers to establish a YMCA presence in the greater Farmington community. We are so grateful for this and are so grateful for our relationship we have with the schools and their forward thinking, as the Y has been creating community since the early 1960s for the Farmington Hills residents. Today I have the privilege of introducing one of the best superintendents I have ever worked with. Dr. George Haish has been in public education as a teacher, building administrator, and superintendent for more than 40 years. He has served humbly and tirelessly as superintendent of Farmington Public Schools since 2014. He began his educational career as a teacher and athletic director at Huron Valley Schools and principal in West Bloomfield Schools. Previously, he was the assistant superintendent of instruction for Farmington Schools and then served as superintendent of Avondale Public Schools for 8 years prior to returning back to Farmington. Dr. Haish earned his Bachelor of Arts in Olivet College, his Master's of Arts in classroom teaching at Michigan State, and his educational doctorates in curriculum and instruction from Wayne State University. He and his wife, Lisa, have 2 adult sons, both married with children, also living here in Michigan. He is an avid runner and can be found on one of our treadmills at the YMCA early in the morning, training for one of his races. He's also a sports enthusiast, and while he's on the treadmill running, he gets to watch ESPN or any of his other favorite channels to get him ready for the day. George is active in the Farmington Hills community. He is a member of the Farmington Hills Optimist Club, the Farmington Rotary Club, and the Exemplar Club of Farmington and Farmington Hills. And he is on the board of directors of the Greater Farmington Area Chamber of Commerce. Farmington Public Schools Education Foundation and the Farmington Hills Foundation for Youth and Families. Mayor Massey said it perfect. Thank you. Thank you for all you've done for the Y. Thank you for what you've done for the community. Thank you for what you've done for the kids. You have been a tremendous asset to us, to me. I've enjoyed my time working with you. Thank you. Everyone, Dr. George Haish.
Well, good morning, everyone. I suspect many of you have a 10 o'clock meeting you're going to worry about in the next few minutes. So I'll be as brief as possible and as thoughtful as I can about Farmington Public Schools because we have a lot to celebrate in Farmington Public Schools and in our communities. So Mary, thank you for this opportunity. Sponsors, thank you for the opportunity. I do have 3 board members with me today. Pam Green, the President of the Board of Education. Angie Smith, the Secretary of the Board of Education. And Zach Rich, our Treasurer, is with us. And then Diane Bauman, our Director of School and Community Relations. So if you decide the information in this speech was overwhelming, Diane, thank you very much. So some facts about Farmington Public Schools. We currently serve about 9,350 students. Within the last decade, we had a high population of over 12,000. So we've had a 22% decline in the last decade. SEMCOG predicts that in Southeast Michigan, school population is going to decline another 10% between 2015 and 2025. And so those of you that are familiar with school funding, you know that the more students you have, the more money you get. The less students you have, the less money you have to educate. So when I came in 2014 and 15, we had over 10,000 students, and our percentage demographically has not changed much in the 5 years. We're about 55 to 60% students that are Caucasian or white. About 25% of our students are African American. 12 to 14% are Asian, and that's been really consistent even as we've lost population. We have 9 elementary schools, and they all have different thematic things that they base their instructional model on. Some of them are called Leader in Me schools, which use the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People from Stephen Covey to help the students find the leader in them. And one of the things that they've taught me is to begin with the end in mind. So the end in mind for public schools is the high school graduation. It's a great culminating event. It's a celebration of 13 years of public education. And I'm happy to tell you that the graduation rate in the Farmington Public Schools is at 90 to 91%. And that means, thank you. That means students that enter in kindergarten make it through high school in 4 years. Those other 9 or 10% stay with us generally and make it either in 5 or 6 years and go on. The average across the state of Michigan is about 81%, so we're above that state average. In 2014-15, we had 905 graduates. This year, we expect 875 to graduate. Last year at Farmington High School, for one of the first times in my public education career, every student that started their senior year as a senior walked across the stage. And if you, thank you. Well, and if you remember what life was like for you at 17, you know, maintaining that kind of focus from staff and student and family for a year is a good achievement. We also like to know, well, when they leave us, what happens? We're a college community. You know, the expectation is you're going to go to school and get a degree. So in 2014-15, 85% of our graduates went to college right away. The most recent data we have, again, 85% went to college right away. So we have 15% that are going to the workforce or going to the military. And then we want to know, do you stick? Do you stay in college? And we define stickiness, along with everybody else, is do you survive your freshman year? Do you come back as a sophomore? And if you come back as a sophomore, do you have enough credits to really be on track to graduate? Well, in 14-15, 50% of our graduates made it back for their sophomore year. That's 11 percentage points higher than the state of Michigan. And for the most recent year, we added another 5%. We're at 55%, and the state of Michigan stayed at 39.5%, so we're proud of that. Our budget when I got here was $147 million a year to operate. It's a lot of money, but about 85 to 88% of that goes to people. Really people-intensive organization, and you can understand that in education. We're now down to about 137 million, so with the loss of students, we've lost money. In addition to that, our free and reduced population has increased. So for us, free and reduced population are students that come to us from families that are at or near the poverty level, depending on family size. We used to be at 24% of our population, now it's up to 26. So in an elementary school, just in a grade level, second grade, that has 100 students, 26 of those students are coming to us with food insecurity during the day, and they're getting breakfast and lunch from us. A service that public schools provide that we don't always think of because we think of reading, writing, and the other stuff. But food insecurity is a big deal for kids, and you can't learn much if you're hungry, so we're happy to do that. The other thing that I think you'll find interesting are the percentage of students that come to us that do not have English as their primary language. So about 12% of our students, 12 to 13% across the system, are what we call English language learners. It means they're learning to speak English and learning school at the same time. The average in Michigan is about 6.5, so we're twice that. But in our kindergarten class this year, 28.5% of our students are considered English learners. So out of 100 kindergartners, Longacre Elementary School, 28 or 29 of them come to us without English. So the real question is, what do we do? The real question is, how do you do it? How does that happen? How do you take a 5-year-old that doesn't speak English, and by the time they're 17, they're going to college, and they have a better than a 50% chance of sticking in college and being a successful college student? So we do it by 7 or 8 different things. We do it by focusing on what's best for students. And we do that, you heard it from the cities, we do it because we constantly scan our environment. We're looking for ways to innovate and provide better learning opportunities for students. One of those interventions Mayor Massey mentioned, but it's the Farmington STEAM Academy. We took a middle school, Dunkel Middle School, that was greatly loved in the community, closed it for a year, refurbished it, and reopened it as a kindergarten through 8th grade learning environment based around science, technology, arts, and math. We have about 650 to 700 students in there, and it's a lottery-based school, so we have to apply to get in. We have 700 applications for openings this year. So we know that we hit the mark with that. We hit the mark because that age span makes sense to some families. They have their child in one location for kindergarten through 8th grade, but it also makes sense because that building, much like other schools, operates around what we call a project-based learning environment. So they're learning, one, more with their hands. They're doing design build projects. And two, they're integrating their learning from language, social studies, and science together in a project. And we think so highly of that as we rebuild Warner Middle School, so it's under construction right now, we're building those kind of learning spaces in Warner. And with the help of our community partner Bosch, we're going to be designated as the Michigan location for training for project-based learning. So any educator in the state of Michigan that wants to learn how to do that has to come to Farmington this summer to do it. We engage in a continuous improvement process. We have an organization similar to what the police departments went through that we call Advanced Ed. They come in every 5 years. They talk to us, and they really ask the question, are you walking your talk? You say you're doing this. Are you really doing this? Is what you're talking about really best for students? They kind of give us a report card, and they tell us you need to fix this. So 2 things that we've been working on lately to fix are the way that we do adult learning in the system, because we're a learning organization and we need to become better adult learners to better serve students, and the way that we grade kids. So there are a lot of different ways now for us to hold students accountable for their learning and allow them to demonstrate their learning than a traditional A, B, C, D, or E that we would have done. We've also got a strategic plan in place that has goal areas around curriculum instruction, community relation, culture, and finance and facilities. You're part of a community that is courageous. And we're courageous in our school system because we talk about the achievement gap. And for those of you that aren't familiar, in public education now, the achievement gap recognizes that depending on where you're born, your zip code, how much money is in your family, or in many cases, the color of your skin, you can predict your educational outcome. And it's something that we have to fix, right? It doesn't exist just in Farmington Public Schools. It exists across the United States of America. But we're at the forefront of that conversation. So the 2 things that I would ask you to remember about the achievement gap: 1, we're talking about it, we're paying attention to it, we're listening to our constituents. But 2, although there is a gap between the achievement of an Asian student or an Asian group and a white group, or the whites and the African Americans, the rate of achievement for an African American student in Farmington Public Schools is twice that in the state of Michigan. So the gap exists, yes. Are you better off to be with Farmington Public Schools? Yes. And we're proud of both of those things, and we're proud to help make that happen. We create safe and secure facilities where quality learning takes place. Bond issue was passed about 3.5 years ago now, Diane. We've been in this? 5 years. Time flies when you're having fun. But through the bond issue, we've been able to rebuild all of our comprehensive schools for kids. And during that, we've added features like safe and secure entries. You got to buzz twice to get in. We have panic buttons. We have security cameras. We have new public address systems from a security standpoint. We recently went through a security audit which says, yes, you've got things to look at. Your schools are extremely safe, but you can always improve your process and procedure. And we work very closely with our public safety departments to make sure we're doing the right work around student safety and student security. The other thing is that we do have 3 comprehensive high schools. And we've got our third accountability system in the state of Michigan, which is now as a parent dashboard that takes 8 or 9 different factors of schooling, mushes them together, and they generate a number for you. So all of our high schools have numbers of 80 or better out of a scale of 100, and we're very proud of that. We employ caring, competent, and exemplary staff members. And I cannot describe to anybody what it feels like to be in public education today unless you're in it. Because the last decade of public education has been tough. The recession hit all of us, right? But it's been slow coming back in public education. The accountability demands and expectations have changed significantly as we become a more college and career exposure kind of group. My generation, I'll date myself, but I graduated in 1972 from beautiful Lapeer High School. I was one of few students in a class of 450 that went to college. The majority of my classmates went to Flint or Pontiac and had a job in 2 weeks on a shop floor building cars. And I remember coming home from college being very jealous of my friends that were working, making a lot of money, because they were doing a lot more fun things than I was by going to college. But today we expect everybody to be college and career ready, and we have great staff that do that. And then we want to make sure that our students feel valued and respected. So we do annual surveys with our students to ask that question. One of the questions we asked was, do you think your students respect everybody? So 77% of our students say that their teachers show respect for all races and ethnicities. Not as high as you want, but definitely not in the danger zone. And then we said, do you feel respected by your teacher? 90% of our students said yes, they felt respected by their teacher. We do this by ensuring that our Board of Education is a strong collaborative team. I'm going to share this story with you. Board members, love you. I was at a recent workshop for school superintendents, and there were about 30 of us in the room, and the facilitator said, how many of you in this room are still with the Board of Education that hired you? One person raised their hand. And so we then said, well, how long have you been on a job? 6 months. Right? That's how quickly life changes in our business with boards of education and city councils and stuff. I have the privilege of being on my 17th Board of Education member in Farmington Public Schools now in 4.5 years. So it takes time for new boards to form, storm, norm, and they're working really hard at that. And to their credit, we had a workshop on Monday night with their professional organization, the Michigan Association of School Boards, to start learning about the process of hiring the next superintendent and figuring that out. So I give them a lot of credit for that. We ensure that we have process and procedure in place to address areas of concern that might arise. And in our world, issues around bias, racism, implicit bias, impact classroom instruction and a relationship between teachers and students every day. We have done a lot of training on implicit bias, on racism and the impact of racism in the classroom on students, and on building classrooms and schools that honor every student. The difficulty for us is that it's harder for us sometimes. It's harder because our customers can't always tell us what they're feeling. It's hard for a 6-year-old to tell us, well, I'm uncomfortable in class, but I don't know why I feel uncomfortable in class. And it's often hard for parents to come to us and articulate that because that relationship hasn't been established between parent and school yet, so we're working on that. We ensure that our students have a broad array of opportunities that are going to get them ready for life after they leave Farmington Public Schools. And much of this happens after school. We brag about advanced placement courses and IB courses and kids that go to college and have their whole freshman year knocked out of the way because they've done such a good job. But we also have opportunities within the business world for students to take advantage of. So we have a health occupation safety club that probably has 150 to 200 students in it that learn about health occupations, and then they go to these competitions. We have the Business Professionals of America that compete nationally. We have DECA, which is marketing. And we recently had a group from Harrison High School that went to Western Michigan University, made presentations to the Western Michigan University Department of Marketing in a competition to earned scholarships, and we took the top 3 places as a marketing group. We do financial literacy fairs with LOC, and then we have what started at the high school level as a robotics team, the Hackbots, that have occasionally gone to world championships and are always rated in the state. We now have these robotics and Lego experiences all the way down through middle school and elementary school for students to learn about that. In addition to that, we promote the arts, which are alive and well in FPS. We have orchestra and band experiences that start in 5th grade. Now, during the recession, most school districts eliminated that kind of programming, but we managed to hold on to it. We have opportunities in middle school and high school for theater productions, musicals, band, and orchestra concerts. We have this national award-winning percussion ensemble called FOOP, the Farmington United Percussion Ensemble. And if you ever need like a pick-me-up, you go to one of their recitals or performances, whatever, you have to leave energized because of the volume of noise in it. There's like 18 kettle drums going at once, all playing together, but they've been national champions, and it's an opportunity that we have. And then you may not know it, but we have one of the few high school dance troupes that is nationally recognized. It runs out of Harrison High School and will go to Farmington High School next year. And they also do some unique things because they have the Oakland County Dance Festival, an all-Saturday event where dancers from all over the state of Michigan come in, but they learn in sectionals and they perform for college dance, I guess coaches would probably be the right word, or instructors, and they earn scholarships on the spot there for dancing. So I guess that's my way of saying that the state of Farmington Public Schools is good. We're in good shape. We're in a good, our kids are in a good space. It's a good school district, and I'm going to thank all of you in this room. I want to thank you for supporting the Farmington Public School District. I want to thank you for providing communities that give students and families the chance to be a part of a great school system. Because we know that public schools only work when communities, families, and staff come together to provide those opportunities for all of our kids. So Farmington Public Schools does that, and it does it because of you and the others in our community. So thank you very much.
I'd like everybody to again thank Dr. Joyce for his years of community service to our system. Okay, as part of our State of the Cities this year, we're going to do a brief presentation on the real estate update. Here with us today is Annette Campo from Keller Williams. Thank you.
Thank you. I thought she was going to do a huge interview and announce who I am. And if you guys aren't receiving my brochure, I'm sure in your mailbox, I'm shocked that if you don't know who I am. I've been celebrating real estate for about 30 years in our industry and in this community. And so very briefly, I just want to share with you, I was going over what are some things that we could tell you to be able to go out there and tell others about what's going on. Our real estate market in Farmington and Farmington Hills has increased because of the people that stood up here, because of that leadership. It's the safe place that we live, the safe place that we invest in, where we feel the safest is where we sell every day. So I first want to just thank everyone who spoke up here today, as well as our safety and fire, because it makes my job a whole lot easier selling houses out there in Farmington Hills, knowing that we live and we work in a great community. So just on average, I wanted to share with you, we're at $122.67 an average square foot per house. But here's the neat thing, is it's about 23 days on the market. So we're looking at a very still, fast, robust market. In commercial real estate, this is kind of interesting, is that we had 17 transactions happen in Farmington, which is about $14.37 million, which is about an average, about $845,000 for a commercial building. And in Farmington Hills, we had 40 transactions, which is about $64 million, with about $1.6 million per sale of that. And so I started thinking about, we talk about metrics, we talk about numbers. As long as we know that the values of real estate are increasing, we feel solid. So I went in and I really started to go into the things that I talk about on a day-to-day basis in my real estate industry. What's going on in Lansing? What is taking place, those conversations that are going to be impacting our residential and commercial space here in our great cities. So the first thing I wanted to mention is there's talk of the first-time home buyer savings plan, very similar to healthcare. They're actually talking about having new homeowners be able to save pre-tax dollars. That may be a way for us to be able to obtain talent that potentially may be going out across our state lines. So if you know of anyone, please start talking about that. It's actually the bill 511 and 512. It's going to, what I feel is really retain the talent in our state and be able to entice them to come in here and work and enjoy what we enjoy every single day. But they're not going to know that unless we talk about it. The second thing is that this is a very early on concept, so any of my commercial business owners don't panic, but they're talking about a potential transfer tax on commercial real estate transactions. Now, as real estate agents, we know on residential, we pay $8.60 per thousand when we sell a house. And so if you're a commercial owner that's thinking about selling their business, that is definitely a law that you want to have a conversation about. Once again, very conceptual conversation in Lansing about it, but definitely one of those things that we want to talk about openly because it will impact our commercial business owners who are selling as well as, once again, having new businesses come into the area. Something I'm really excited about that they're talking about is the marketable title. Now, a lot of us don't realize this because we just see developments happen and all this infrastructure happen behind the scenes. But the marketable title, which is the law of 671, they're talking about fulfilling the actual highest and best use of land. And if you're a developer, you know that there are some challenges out there to get your development through, depending on how it's zoned and how the actual market of that title is portrayed in its legal description. This will allow just a very simple fix to require the new notification of what the highest and best use of that property is and put the decision back in where it should be, which is our local government control. Because when we have that, we know the people that are vested in our communities are making those decisions. And that's where I really feel that needs to be. Cyber attack. I remember very early on in my business, I didn't have a cell phone and I didn't have the internet, and I did really good business. And so now with technology, it's changed. And so we have a cyber attack going on in our real estate and mortgage industry, and it's about wire fraud. People are able to hack into our emails and let them know that, hey, please transfer your funds for closing on your commercial building or your residential house to this account. Well, they're thinking they're transferring it to a title company, but they're really transferring it overseas. And they're losing all of that money. So the conversation out there about the cyber breach liability, which is Law 632, requires the new notification requirements and actually having infrastructure expenditures in budgets for companies that are handling that. And so being a real estate broker, as long as I have, I really feel a true commitment to make sure that we take a stand and invest the funds in that to make sure that we're protecting our customers and our clients' money. Because that's really what it comes down to when it comes to the cyber liability. And of course, the last thing I want to talk about today is once again thanking our military veterans. Many of us don't realize that there are so many programs out there for our veterans and our first responders. And so the law that's come across with VA, I'm very, very excited to see that they're actually streamlining the process for our veterans to be able to get and acquire mortgages not so much dependent on the responsibility of the veteran, but more the responsibility of the industry. And that's going to be nice because it'll allow veterans to be able to go in and be more aggressively when they're negotiating with other buyers who may be FHA or conventional finance, but are losing out on possibly purchasing just because the VA takes longer to approve. And so we're seeing a more streamlining process with that as well. And I'm very excited to say that my company and my team invested in Homes for Our Heroes, which in Farmington and Farmington Hills, if you are a firefighter or a police officer or any of our governmental employees, you're able to participate in Homes for Our Heroes and receive 25% back on the commission. Once again, another great opportunity to let everybody know who supports in our community why our home values keep increasing and our business land and highest best in use of what we use that commercial space for are improving is because of the people that serve our community. And so I thank you very much, not only from my team as well as from Keller Williams, but as well from everyone who lives and works here in Farmington Hills.
Thank you, Annette. I think she just gave our new government liaison a bunch of work to do in Lansing, so thank you. All right, that concludes our program, State of the Cities. 2019 is now complete. Thank you for your patience this morning and traveling out in the weather. This has been a record attendance for State of the Cities this year, so we appreciate the support. And again, thank you for your participation. Thank you for living, working, and playing in the city of Farmington and Farmington Hills. Thank you.